Section 10.1, zero product property. So this is going to kick off our unit where we are going to go back to factoring, and what we're doing in this unit is solving quadratics. So in our last section of Unit 9, we looked at solving quadratics and knowing that it's where we cross the x-axis. And so we've done this graphically looking for this point that's some x 0 and another x 0 here. These are the solutions. And so we also talked about a graph that doesn't have any solutions or a graph that has one solution. And so we've done it visually with our graphing unit in Unit 9. Now in Unit 10, this is where we're going to have several different methods. We're going to have review our factoring, square roots, and our third method is going to be solved by quadratic formula. And then we'll get into some applications as well. So the very first thing is going to lead us into solve by factoring. And so the first thing we're going to talk about today is the zero product property. The zero product property says if the product of two quantities equals 0, at least one of the quantities equals 0. So if we know A times B equals 0, then either A equals 0 or B equals 0. So this is called the zero product property because we can say the product of two parts that are 0, one of the parts has to be 0. So watch this here. Use the zero product property to solve the equation. Check your answers. So here we have two things being multiplied, x minus 3 times x plus 7 equals 0. One of these has to be 0. So if this is 0, 0 times all of this will give me 0. Or if this piece is 0, it doesn't matter what this is. Anything times 0 will be 0. So the zero product property says one of those two parts, either x minus 3 has to be 0 or x plus 7 has to be 0. One of those has to be 0. And so what we can do now is we have one-step equation. So I'm going to add the 3 over, and it says if x equals 3, then the whole thing will be 0. And we can check our answer by plugging in. 3 minus 3, there's my 0. So I know 0 times, even though this is 3 plus 7 is 10, 0 times 10, that's going to be a solution. X equals 3. X plus 7, I'm going to subtract 7, undoing the addition, and I get x minus equals negative 7. And again, I can check my answer. Negative 7 minus 3 is negative 10 times negative 7 plus 7. Those are opposites. That's going to get us negative 7 plus 7 is 0. So if this whole piece is 0, anything, negative 10 included, times 0 is 0. These are my two solutions. On the second one, we have two parts here. We have x could equal 0 or x minus 5 could equal 0. There's no solving on this one. X is already by itself. So if x is 0, 0 times anything will be 0. I need to get x by itself on here, so I'm going to add 5 to both sides, and I get x equals 5. And again, I can check here. 5 times 5 minus 5 is 0. 5 times 0, still 0. These are my two solutions. Graphically, that's telling us that at 3, this is going through, and at negative 7, I went the wrong way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And again, we're not graphing these because it looks something like this, where it's going to have a vertex way down there and going up like this, but that's what we're finding. We're just not doing it graphically, we're doing it algebraically. This one, again, it would have 0 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and it's positive, so it would open up. And it just gives us those two values there. All right, continuing with the zero product property. Two things being multiplied equals 0. That means x minus 11 has to be 0 or x plus 5 has to be 0. One of those is 0. Add the 11 over. If x equals 11, that whole piece is 0. Or if x equals negative 5, that's another solution that would make this 0. Negative 5 plus 5, that would be 0. On this next one, we have x minus 10 squared. So I'm going to rewrite this so I see both of those parts. These are the same parts, meaning this is only going to be 1 here because this will give us the same solution. And so if I add 10, here I get x equals 10 is the solution. 10 minus 10 is 0, 0 squared checks out. And this one is 10. Okay, so we don't have to write both of these because this is going to be one where we go to 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this one is going to be like this, where we only have one solution or a repeated solution there. This one would go 11 over and 5 over, and we would have two solutions. All right, on number 5, now we have 1, 2, 3 pieces. Okay, so now I have 3 different pieces with x. So we won't do a ton that have 3 pieces, but I wanted to show you one that looked like this. No solving there, x is already by itself. Subtract 4, here's our solution. Add 3, here's our solution. This is going to have solutions that look like this, at -4, at 0, and at +3. Now this is no longer quadratic because we have too many solutions. Quadratics will have 1, 2, or none. This is going to be something that looks like this, where it goes, whoa, let me try that again, where it's going up, down, and back up. It's going to look like that. Again, this is kind of where you're headed with intermediate and algebra 2. We're going to still stick with quadratics, opening up, opening down. But I wanted to show you that no matter how many parts we have here, there's an x, there's an x, there's an x. Those are all solutions. On this last one, we have 2x could be the 0, there's one part, or the x plus 4 could equal 0. All right, divide by 2. All right, x is still 0, that's a solution. Subtract 4. X is -4, that's another solution. And again, graphically, this would look, here's a solution, 1, 2, 3, 4, here's a solution. It would look like this. On number 7, we have 3x plus 2, there's one part that could be 0. Or we have 4x minus 1. Now we're moving into problems that are two-step equations. So now I need to subtract the 2 and then divide by 3. This is now my solution. If x is -2/3, that's going to make this entire part 0. 0 times anything will give me 0. 2 steps on this one, I'm going to add the 1 over and then divide by 4. The other solution here is 1/4. And again, if I was graphing this, these are a lot harder to graph because they're fractions here. On number 8, I have, okay, 3 parts, but notice this one's a little different. This one has an extra x in front. This still only has 2 x's. So even if I looked at that 2, it's not going to give me a solution because 2 can't equal 0. That won't ever give us anything that's a real solution. So I'm going to look at the 4x minus 2 equals 0 and the 2x plus 4 equals 0. Those are going to be my 2 solutions where x's are involved. 2 steps here, I'm going to take 4x and add the 2 over and divide by 4. Here's 2/4. All right, I could simplify that to 1/2 or 0.5, get my fraction there. Same thing here, I'm going to subtract the 4 over, there's my first step, and divide by 2. So -4 divided by 2 gets me -2. There's my other solution. So again, when we get into two-step equations, these might have fraction parts, but that's why we're doing this algebraically. Not all of our solutions are going to be ones that are easily to be graphed there. When we get into solve by factoring, this is where we're going to have to get to factored fully form. So we're going to review that step where we did our x puzzles and kind of working towards solving our quadratics by factoring. So that's if we start in standard form, how do we get to factored form so that we can see the solutions to our equations? All right, let me know if you have any questions.